Matt Schlapp is the chairman of the American Conservative Union, and he joins us tonight. Matt, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tucker.
So we had a lot of different lead segments in mind because there's a lot going on in the world. This statement kind of overtook the entire news cycle here in Washington, and I'm still trying, all these hours later, to figure out exactly what this is about. Who is served by this argument, and what does it represent?
Well, I think the only people that were happy today were the people on other cable news shows that are prosecuting the case against who was a legitimately elected president. Hashtag resistance and all the forces that feel a little wind in their sails because of this statement from Steve Bannon, which is over the line, inappropriate, and he really should take it back, because I know that he doesn't believe what he said.
Which statement are you referring to?
The idea that Jared Kushner or Don Jr. are traitors or acted in a treasonous way.
They're unpatriotic.
Yeah, or treasonous is way beyond the pale, and he ought to take it back, because that's really not what this is about, because what he said earlier is that this investigation was a canard, that there was no Russia collusion, that he saw nothing inappropriate, and I think that's where the American people who are good-natured and fair are going to come down on this whole set of questions. And this is going to be a drama that we're going to have to deal with over the next couple of days, but I think it's a very unfortunate thing.
So if you get toward the bottom of the president's statement, very colorful statement, he says this: Steve doesn't represent my base. He's only in it for himself. That seems like the nub of it here, the debate over who represents Trump's voters. Is it the president, or is it his chief strategist, Steve Bannon? What's the answer?
The conservative movement is not aligned to any one person, but they are head over heels overjoyed with the first year of the Trump presidency and the Trump agenda. They know that we could be looking at 1 or 2 additional Supreme Court openings potentially in 2018, and they know that there's going to be a huge election at the end of this year where the majority in the Senate and the House are up for grabs. And they believe, they might have been unsure about Trump in the beginning, but they're not unsure about him now, Tucker. And there's no question as to whether or not who their allegiance is with. It's the leader of their party, it's the President of the United States, and it's the agenda he's pushing, and Steve Bannon is for that agenda too. So why do anything to help hashtag resistance, which is all about trying to delegitimize Trump? And I think that's where Steve made a big mistake with his talking to a very left-wing journalist who he shouldn't even be talking to.
That journalist is not very left-wing, by the way, Michael.
Well,
I just in point of fact, I don't think he is. And it wasn't just in that conversation.
Do you think that this journalist is somebody who he should talk to in this manner in order to really try to harm the Trump agenda? I don't think it's smart.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I have confidence that that journalist, Michael Wolff, is accurately representing the quote that he heard, because I think he's an honest journalist.
Well, I'm not questioning that part.
I don't think he has an ideological agenda here. What I'm struck by is the fact that it was said in the first place by Steve Bannon, and I wonder
why.
Well, that's the question. Why? What's the point of this?
I think the point is that when you're a staffer at the White House, you're a staffer. By the way, he did this as a staffer.
Right.
You serve a president. I've served a president, right? And you don't talk to journalists, whether on the record or off the record in any way, to try to harm the agenda. If you're trying to harm the agenda, who's disloyal?
But this is not the first time. I mean, it's not just
well, it doesn't matter.
This, Michael. Right. No, but I'm just saying, in 5 different interviews in the last couple of months, you have seen direct attacks on Trump by Bannon, or attacks that clearly came from Bannon. And I'm just wondering, is there a point to this? Where is this going? I mean, you're one of the leaders of the institutional conservative movement in Washington. Right. Do you see Steve Bannon leading part of it 5 years from now?
I think Steve Bannon is an important voice, but I think he's greatly marginalized his voice, because what this looks personal, this looks petty. It's about who did the most to help Donald Trump win. It's about revision, and it helps the left. And I think activists around this country, conservative activists, see this for what it is. It's a distraction on President Trump and conservative Republicans pushing this great agenda. And anything that gets in the way of that agenda, certainly when it's about ego and claiming credit, is a distraction. And so I think he hurts himself unless he comes out and says, look, I might have disagreements with Jared Kushner or Donald Trump Jr., but I don't think there's anything to this investigation, because that's what all of his other public comments have said.
And very quickly, there have been reports that he is considering running for president in 2020. Is that true, and does he have a shot, do you think?
He does not have a shot period, and he certainly doesn't have a shot in a Republican primary. No one is going to run to the right of Donald Trump, Tucker. He has captured that by making this commitment to conservatives with this agenda and delivering on the agenda. It's ironclad.